Hi guys, and today my video is on Stormlight Archive because I haven't made a video on them in a while. Actually, not even a while. It's been since Kaladin. It's been since my Kaladin Samurai arc, which I kind of want to do more of. Maybe I'll do Downloads arc in the Way of Kings, stuff like that. I don't know, but I want to do a why you should read for Stormlight Archive because you definitely should read these books. I would say Mistborn is Brandon Sanderson's perfect entry, a perfect fantasy series. But that's not even his best work. I think his best work is the Stormlight Archive. And these are some really good books. And while I personally think first two are better than the second two, I do think all around it's very, very good. So, there's a couple reasons why you should read this series. First of all, it's so popular right now. It's like the Magnum. It's like right now, one of the most popular modern fantasy series right now. And I feel like if he had more recognition worldwide, like actually not in just book, just in general, this would be a phenomenon, like a worldwide phenomenon. Of course, it is a phenomenon, but in the book lane, it still hasn't made its way out of books and stuff like that. But I think once it does, it is going to be a worldwide phenomenon. And I'm keeping this video as a record. I predicted this because it's huge. And I don't like a lot of people kind of look over this stuff, but it's really good. The Stormlight Archive is I think it's my currently favorite series right now. With Wheel of Time, it's very, very close between these two. But I do think this is my favorite series, and it's a great to be that big on the hype, and trust me, it'll come. The popularity will come soon enough for Brandon Sanderson. The second reason why you should read this book, or these books, are the writing style. Though it may look long, and it is long, it's not really dense. Like Lord of the Rings is dense. It'll take you much longer than it looks like to read 1,000 pages of Lord of the Rings. This one, you'll fly by. The time will fly by, and it does not seem big when you're reading these books. These look intimidating, but what I like to do is, if it's too big for you, kind of read this. Like, I'm gonna read Way of Kings. If I don't like it, I don't like it. It's 1,000 pages. Was the shortest one, but I think it really, really flies by. Even though this is huge, I finished this Way of Kings in about a week. Well, that's the only thing. I only read Way of Kings. I'm not reading two books at once when I was reading this. But I flew this by in a week. I couldn't stop. I couldn't put it down. That's what it's like for me. I really don't think it's like that, and you shouldn't be intimidated. Because if you are, it's totally understandable. Way long series, but I think once you get in it, it doesn't really seem as long. Just because they're really, really good. And yeah. And another reason, these are fleshed out characters. These characters, it really, really explores character. And I think this is Brandon Sanderson's series that is most like Robert Jordan's Wheel of Time. Very, very great characters and very descriptionate. And his writing style resembles a lot to Robert Jordan. So if you've read Robert Jordan, you should read the series, because I think this is the most resemblance to Robert Jordan's writing style in this series, and this is his big fantasy series. Like, this is his epic, and you can tell he's really passionate about it. So you can tell he's passionate about this work right here. And I know a lot of people don't like to read uncompleted series, especially when the entries are this long. But one thing about you gotta make a mental note for. This is Brandon Sanderson. He will put them out, and trust me, I have total faith he's going to complete the series. He is probably, once he hasn't started working on the 5th book, but once he starts working on it, I'm pretty sure it'll be done pretty quickly. This was his last entry, Rhythm of War. I personally think it was one of the weaker entries, but still, it was good. It was a weaker entry, but it still made 5 stars. So if you know, that's kind of what it is. Like, this will be a good read for you, even though it's not my favorite. And my personal favorite is Way of Kings, which is the first book, followed closely by Words of Radiance. These two books are nearly perfection. And if you don't know what they are, they kind of follow main cast of characters, but kind of like 4 or 5 main ones. Kaladin, Shallan, Dalinar, and Adolin. And if you count Navani as a main character, yeah, and Yasna. There's a lot of the smaller characters too, but it's not as massive cast of characters as Wheel of Time, and so you're not really. It's hard to keep track of, but the world building is easier to keep up with Wheel of Time, mainly because it's not the most fleshed out world building. It's has a lot of great world building here, but not the most fleshed out world building. So that's just a warning there. Another thing about this is it's just like it'll be worth it no matter what. I don't really know many people who dislike this book, but Brandon Sanderson, he has an epic, and this is his epic. If I don't like, Mistborn was a great trilogy. It was great. It was a great fantasy series. If you've watched Why you should read for that one. You can definitely check it out. But this is his epic. So this is his Malazan. I've not read Malazan, but I know this isn't his epic. But this is his Wheel of Time. This is his main. This is what he's passionate about right now. And there's so many more books to come. And if you want to be a big fan, you should definitely try to read. I know a lot of people want to get into Sanderson, and this is a great way to start. You don't have to start here, but it's a great way to start because you can start basically almost anywhere with Sanderson. But this is a great way to start. The Way of Kings is really good. Another reason why is for you who have read the rest of the Cosmere, but not this, is there's so many ties in. If you've read Warbreaker, there's a certain tie-in for Warbreaker that I won't say. And if you've read Elantris, there's very small connections with Elantris. I'm currently reading, and there's this one certain character that I don't know if I should say his name, because spoilers, but he's literally popped up in every single Cosmere series. And that's, like, it's really cool to see these connections to it. It's connected to Mistborn, not crazy, but it's really cool to make these theories, because I read this when I've only read Mistborn. That's when I read this. I only had read Mistborn. But now that I'm reading more of the Cosmere, I can see, hey, this connects here, this connects here. Brandon Sanderson is a mastermind at doing this, and of course, it's really, really, really good. Just like all the Sanderson, and I fully expect the 5th book to blow me out of the water, and it will blow you out of the water too if you've read the series. I think this is just one of his best works, and if you want to get full modern fantasy, it's all right here. And I know it's intimidating. One thing that would probably make it a little less intimidating is buying those books that are split into two, just like the British edition are split into two. If it makes it less intimidating for you, that can do it, just because it's not holding a giant book. Or the audio book would do well, but it's really, really, really like fleshed out and deep. These they're kind of like built by these things called Spren. The world building is cool, but it's not huge. There's these storms that come in every once in a while, probably pretty often actually, that kind of like decimate the place, so it kind of looks like very barren. So that's kind of the world right here. And they're in a war with the Parshendi, so that's basically the book, but it gets so much deeper, and a lot of these chapters go in interludes. Like, there's interludes, that are literally set up interludes, and there's another part. There's an end part, interlude, start part, if that makes sense. And they'll put in, like, flashbacks 10 years ago. Like, each book goes into the backstory of someone else, and it'll they'll have their part, and then it says 10 years ago, and it explains everything, and it puts it together very nicely, and you understand these characters so much more after you've read their backstory, and they have so much character growth. And seeing Dalinar's backstory was amazing. I think even though this was my least favorite book, Dalinar's backstory in this book was very, very, very great. Like, I think this is the best backstory out of all of them. And yes, it's crazy, like, because you can see, now I know where Dalinar comes from, who Dalinar is. Kaladin is a great character who was explored in the first book, and he kind of like, he's kind of like your signature hero. Like, he kind of comes down from dust. And he's a great character, but he is kind of stereotypical. He's a great character, but he's just kind of stereotypical. What I love about Dalinar is he's just Dalinar, and if you've read the series, you know what I mean. And I really, really do love the backstory in this one. So yeah, it's incredible because these characters are so fleshed out, and yeah, this character work is so great while in a huge world. Like, and that's why having such big books can help, because it's literally, the character you're building is always here, but while having this extremely great magic system, and extremely great stories, and extremely epic battles. Like, some of the fight scenes in here are pretty awesome, honestly. And it'll all be so worth it if you read it. And I really do hope you try to give it a shot. And I think you won't regret it. I didn't. I started reading and I never looked back after that, honestly. And it's been one of my favorite series right now. So, just quite amazing. And it took me on a ride, and I'm still so excited for Stormlight 5, which I don't even know when it's coming out. It better be soon. But yeah, so that's it. That's my pitch. Hopefully you do get to read it. It's a big commitment, but I just try to say, start out with the first book. You don't like it, you don't like it. You don't have to continue. But I do think, yes, it is something you should give a shot. Definitely. So yeah, that was my little pitch. So hopefully you do end up picking this up. It is worth it, in my opinion, honestly. But I'll see you in the next video.